All right, so we're gonna review for module 2, and here we go. And, all right, I got it. I don't need any citations for this. All right, so there's a question. It's multiple choice. The beginning is multiple choice, like last time. And you want to think of that 2010 rule that was in our booklet. Let's see if I can find it. Again, you can use your booklets, but it may be helpful to like know what's where, which obviously I don't even. But the 2010 rule, this one is about the monthly payment. So 2010, 20 refers to the percent of overall debt. 10 refers to the loan payment, the maximum monthly payments. Loan payments, debt payments, same thing. So in this case, this would be 10%, and it's 10% of monthly net pay. Net pay, not gross pay, net pay. Okay, so if you remember that the monthly is the second one in the 2010, then you should remember that it's 10% since it says monthly, but it is net pay. Both of those things are figured on net pay, not on gross pay. So that might be a big hint that like some of the multiple choice might say gross pay. So make sure you're choosing net pay. And then things that are or are not credit. So you may be asked to choose something that is credit or choose the thing that is not credit. So if you're paying for it after you use it, it's credit. So for example, examples of credit, examples of non-credit. So credit example, of course, a credit card, a loan, a utility bill, right? Because we use the electricity or the phone or the cable before we actually pay them for it. Non-credit would be things that we haven't used first. So insurance, you pay for that upfront before you've used it. You have to have it ahead of time, basically. Other things, let's see, like if you got your car license plates, right? You get them for the upcoming year, not the year that you just went through. You're paying for them and then they're good in advance. So like car license plates, or which goes along with your registration for the car, right? Every year you have your plates and registration kind of thing that you do. You're paying for the next year. So that is not credit, all right? So that just gives you, just know things that you're paying for before, like your insurance, those kind of, your registration, your plates, and then they're good for the next year. Those are not credit because you're actually paying in advance. I mean, I guess if you paid for them with a credit card, but then that you're putting it in a whole nother category over here. So again, read carefully. I believe you might have a multiple choice that like ask you which one is not. So just be sure that you're reading carefully. And then you want to be able to use simple interest. So hold on to your hat there, Mari, and brace yourself. But this one is where we say the interest is equal to the principal. I'm just going to type out the word times the rate times time. All right, so what this means and how you're going to use it then, give you a couple examples. If it was $2,000 at 6% interest for 3 years. We don't have to worry about compounding. We're just going to use simple interest, and then compare from simple interest. And you want to pick the one that gives you the lowest. So this just means we're going to take 2,000 times, now the 6% becomes a decimal. It always moves 2 places left. So this is going to be 0.06 times 3. So if I do 2,000 times 0.06 times 3, drum roll, 2,000 times 0.06 times 3, I get 360. A little rough estimate, 10% would just mean chop off a 0 if it was just 1 year. So really the 6 times 3 is like 18%. So because it's for 3 years. So that one will be 360. If I had another one that said 2,000 at 5.5% or 2 years. So 5.5%, I still move the decimal 2 places to the left. So that's 0.055. And then still times the number of years. So see, I think that's going to be like 110 times 2. Obviously that one's going to be less because it made it less percent and less years, but, and that would be 220. So you're going to have like 4 different ones, and then you're supposed to choose the one with the least interest. That's going to result in the least interest. It is multiple choice. So if all else fails, give it your best guess. All right. But that's the process. It's just simple interest. It doesn't ask you about compound interest. What does and does not build credit history? All right. So also a little bit of difference between credit history and credit rate or your credit score. All right. So just know like paying bills on time. Yes. Using your debit card. No. Using your credit card responsibly. Yes. Making your loan payments, having loans. Yes. Okay, so so some things, there's something down here, I think it's a little bit later. It talks about how you can, what you do as a young person. And there are a couple things you can do that don't change a credit score, but they do help you establish credit initially. You're going to have a multiple choice question, be upfront with you. It asks who provides free credit reports. And I don't know that that's directly in the book. It was in one of the PowerPoints. Currently, you can get all 3 of the major reporting free. But TransUnion and Experian, that's the one you want to choose. Some of them say like the credit union. No, that's not. Credit unions don't provide these. Credit reports come from those big 3 agencies. So of the choices that you're given, you want to choose the one that says TransUnion and Experian, which are 2 of the main ones. How often is it recommended that you check your credit report? Annually. So that's once a year. So at least once a year.
Are we going to be able to use this review on the test?
Yep.
Okay.
You can use anything you want on the test.
Okay.
So now having, you know, like making sure you have it in some way that you can be accessing it sometimes is the trickier part, right? But yeah, you can use your book, you can use your review. Some people will just try to wing it, and so they won't have the review to use, but that's kind of on them, right? So
Yeah, well, the review is really going to help me out because like I'm kind of understanding now that we're like doing this review.
Good. And it just kind of will help you know, like, okay, some of the things aren't as important. I can just focus on the things that I'm going to be asked. Again, like most of these things that we've gone over so far, they're all in multiple choice format, but with what we're putting down here, it should help you zone in on the right answer. And I am recording it, and I'll post it so that people who can't be in class, like they could look at it if they choose to be able to have the same information that you guys have. So know that if you apply for credit, you are consenting to let them check your credit report. So when you think about who can check your credit report, I'm your teacher. That does not give me permission to check your credit report, all right? Your doctor, no, your doctor does not have permission to check your credit report. But if you go to buy a car, if you apply for a credit card, if you go to a bank and ask for a loan, any of those places where you're like applying for credit, then that gives them permission to check your credit report. All right, so just, you're gonna have something where it's gonna be like a choice. If you're under 18, you don't even have a credit report yet. All right, so your parents can't check your credit report because you're under 18 because you don't have one. So don't fall for that. And then knowing things that impact your credit score. So some things that would be yes. Let's see, I'm gonna try to be smarter about this. So some yes things, some no things. So this kind of, some of those same things about building credit history, same kind of things come up in impacting your credit score. So late payments, on-time payments, they impact it in different ways, right? Looks like I'm gonna run out of room. Having a mix of debt types, like having loans and credit cards, etc. Some things that don't impact your credit score. Let's see. Living with a roommate with the lease in their name, right? That if you don't pay, if they don't pay, it doesn't affect your credit score because it's in their name. So that wouldn't help you. What other, I guess I could add something else under here. So having a credit card, that would impact yours. Buying a car with cash doesn't affect your credit score because there's not going to be any record of that. What would you do if you can't find your credit card? What do you guys think? What should you do?
Call and like block it.
Yeah, right. Call the company immediately. Don't wait. Right? Call immediately so they can put a stop on it. Don't think like, well, I don't think it was stolen. I probably didn't lose it outside my house. Maybe it's just in the bottom. It is better to find it in the bottom of your purse. I mean, like hopefully you at least look through your purse, right? But it's better to find it at home and be like, ah, darn, I already called them, than to wait and then like it end up being a big issue, a much bigger issue. Now some cards actually have, like you can have an app on your phone where you can like kind of temporarily turn it off. Like I have that for one of mine where I can, if I click that, it basically says, don't let any charges go through. And like, that's what I would use like I think I just misplaced it. So I'm going to go ahead and click that while I'm searching my purse and making sure I didn't drop it in the console of my car, whatever. All right. But calling the company immediately, you know, don't call the police. Don't, you know, like just call the credit card company immediately. So it does bring up a good point. If the only place you have a number for your credit card, like to call them, is on the back of the card, you might want to make sure that you have like an old bill that you keep. I'm a hoarder, so I keep everything. But if you like to just get rid of the clutter, or you're all electronic, somewhere where you have a list of those numbers so that if something happens, you have easy access to make sure that you can call them. Or again, app on your phone that gives you that. So if I'm trying to compare loans, what would be some things that we would need to know or to think about that would help us decide which loan is best? We kind of like, if you think about the problem on the front page about the interest, right? Think about what things affected those numbers. So the APR, which is the same thing as the interest rate, right? So the interest rate, the term length, that's just fancy words for how long is the loan. And we may want to ask questions like, are there prepayment penalties? And oh, I had that all spelled right. So those would be 3 possible things, particularly that interest rate and like how long the loan is. Those are going to be the biggies as you compare. And then we looked at some credit applications of other people's to try to make a decision. And then I also gave you a list, but I said I didn't want you guys to fill it out for me. What are some of the, or maybe it was in the PowerPoint, but what's some of the personal information that you have to give on a credit application?
Social security number, birth certificate, stuff like that.
Yeah, so you're going to have to give social security number. You're going to have to give your birth date, of course, your name. You're going to have to give like your employer, your income, like how much you're making, your address. So yeah, they're going to be all up in your business. And they're probably not just going to ask your employer, they're going to ask how long have you been working there? Not just your address, but how long have you lived there? So you have lots of, I think this is a question where you list some things, but you have lots of choices from what to list. So just think if you were doing that, a lot of it is the same thing as on a job application, but a little more probably in your business. Some early things that a young adult could do that would build a good credit history. They don't necessarily always affect a credit score, but they help give you a history. And so I think there was some kind of triangle thing in one of the PowerPoints. We said like, have a bank account, right? Just so that you're showing that you have some money in the bank. You can have checking and savings, that's even better. And it was also in that same thing where we talked about building, build relationships or a relationship with a bank or a credit union. So that doesn't affect your credit score, but that is helping you build a history that you have that relationship, that you already have a bank account, having a job. And if you have a job with some stability, so not just well, this summer I worked 2 months at this place, and this summer I worked 2 months at that place. But, you know, like maybe you've been at the same part-time job, even though it's part-time, but maybe it's been for a year. And then of course, if you do have any bills, pay them on time. But you know, obviously as a young person, initially you might not have any bills in your name. What kind of things can you do to protect your personal information? And by the way, some of these things, like these are definitely not the only things for all of these. Actually, I just saw, for instance, like back here, when you're comparing loans, this is a big one. Do they have an origination fee? Because remember, that was that upfront fee. How much down payment do they require? You don't have to list like 5 things, but those are just some other things. All right. So back to protect your personal information. So that would be from that very last, from yesterday's stuff, where we talk about fraud and how we can protect ourselves against fraud. So of course, avoid giving out more information than necessary. Strong computer passwords. Ignore the random friend request. Or ignore random friends. Those two. Use your privacy settings on like social media and things. So actually there's a bunch of things just on page 36. Like don't use, you know, be careful the things that you put on social media. Privacy settings, strong password. Watch out for messages. Look for those, you know, be careful with spam and phishing things where they're trying to get you to click on links that you shouldn't. So resist phishing attempts. And then you are going to be applying that 2010 rule. There is a nice table where you're going to do that. And this is another math part. And this is going to be very much like what we did on page 20. And we also did something, it wasn't for a grade, but know the limit, where we did that in a spreadsheet. All right, so this was, so just as examples, what you're going to be given is you're going to be given an amount. Let's go ahead and insert a table here. We'll do 3 examples. So it's going to give us a net income. It's going to give us, it's going to ask us for maximum total debt. And remember the total, it's called 2010. So this one that's first, it's the 20% one, 20% of the net income. And this is annual. It's the whole thing, not just for a month. This one is going to be our maximum monthly. And again, this little table is basically on page 20 with an example that shows you, so you can refer back to that if you don't have a good way to like look back at this. And this one is our maximum monthly payments. And for this one, we do 10% of monthly net income. So for instance, if I said the net income for the year is $6,000, so this would be a young person or someone who definitely doesn't have their own bills. So to find this one, this is the easier one. It's pretty straightforward. It's just the 6,000 times the 20%. Again, decimal, so that becomes 0.20. You could just put 0.2, but it's always two places to get the percent sign off. And then that's going to equal $1,200. So that one is going to be the easier one. This one, it's for monthly net income. So to find the monthly, I have to take this, because this number over here is for the whole year. So I'm going to have to take that 6,000, whoops, divide it by 12 to get how much it is a month. So that's 500 a month. Excuse me, then the 500 times 10%. So again, the 10%, decimal, 1, 2 places makes that 0.10. And then that would be $50. So try this one. What if we said it was 35,000? So you guys try those two, see what you come up with if it was 35,000. Actually, that makes me think of something, because I'm going to go ahead and make this one a little easier and say 36,000, just because 35,000 turns out messy. But I'm going to check the test to see how messy the ones that you have to do turn out. I don't want to not prepare you for messy, but I don't want to muck up your mind with messy if it's not going to be particularly messy. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Kind of messy. All right. So our 36,000 times 0.20 for 20% should get 7,200. So if you made $36,000 a year take home pay, then 7,200 is the maximum recommended debt. Again, doesn't include your mortgage. And then if I wanted to know the maximum monthly payments on debt that's recommended, I would have to do that 36,000 divided by 12 because it's monthly, which would give us 3,000, and then times 10%, this would be $300. So now I'm going to give you one that's not going to come out quite so neat. Those came out so nice and neat, and I chose them that way because I could kind of do the math in my head. But let's say it wasn't so nice and neat, like that when I divide by 12, it doesn't particularly come out pretty. So let's say I have $20,500. This first one is still going to be, no matter what number they give you, the first one is not going to be hard because it's just one step and there's no dividing. It's just times 20%. So my 40,000 or 20,500 times 0.2 or 0.20, I get $4,100. So now over here, because I'm going to divide by 12, this is where we're going to end up with like something that has dollars and cents. So keep in mind, we're working with money. So if it doesn't come out to be a whole number, we're going to keep 2 decimal places. So 20,500 divided by 12. 20,500 divided by 12. I get $1,708.33. Okay, it's actually a whole bunch of threes, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So 33 cents, because the extra threes would round down. Now when I take that times 10%, and some of you may have realized that times 10% just moves the decimal one place to the left. But you could just leave that in the calculator, times 0.10, and I get $170.83. Oh, hello, I got an extra 0 in there. Oh, I don't have an equal sign. That's my issue. So I end up with, let's see if I can move my table over a little bit to give that some room. Still put it on the next line. Okay, $170.83. Okay, so you're gonna have 3 of those, just like I just did 3. Okay, 3 of those. And then the next part, same thing that you just did in yesterday's homework, where you're just gonna say, they use the word appropriate and inappropriate. We just said good and bad uses of credit before. So just as long as you justify, you know, it may say borrow money for a refrigerator, or use a credit card to buy magazines, set up a payment plan because I had to go to the emergency room. Some of them are going to be probably pretty obviously appropriate or inappropriate. Some, it really does kind of matter depending on how you justify it. So you need to put a check under appropriate or inappropriate, and then give an explanation of why you think that's important. So for instance, if I took out a loan to buy a bicycle, someone might say, you don't need a bicycle. You shouldn't, that's inappropriate because it's just a need. It's just a want, it's not a need. Save up money for a bicycle. Someone else might say, take out a loan for a bicycle because you don't have a driver's license and you're gonna ride your bicycle to go to work. Or you're gonna save money on gas and your health because your doctor told you need to get more exercise, and you're gonna save money on gas. Maybe it's that kid who is paying his friend money every week. He had his own bicycle. He could ride his bike to school. So depending on how you justify it, like I don't have in mind necessarily one set of true, like right or wrong answers there. So just make sure, 1, you're going to get a point for your explanation anyway, but 2, if I would not agree, depending on your explanation, it's okay. Because if you've explained why, then it'll be all right. And then kind of, where did I have that at? I said be aware of the difference between credit and debit cards. So like credit card's going to affect your credit rating, but a debit card is not going to affect your credit rating because it's not actually credit. I think we already ran into that in another assignment. And then these terms, we're going to have these terms. There's some true and false questions, and then there's some matching questions. And so you want to know what these things mean. They are all in the book. All right, they are all in there, scattered about. All right, the 5 C's, we talked about those the other day. 5 C's you can find on pages 24 and 25. So this capital through conditions, even not on conditions aren't even on there. So this one in your booklet is on page 25. Remember, capital is the things that you own, right? Capital is like the money that you already have. So that would be, for instance, like that you have a checking account or you have a savings account. Collateral, also on page 25, that's something that they could repossess from you. That's a possession that you're putting up like as collateral, kind of like taking something to the pawn shop, kind of, but that they could take away from you if you don't pay. So like a car is your collateral when you get a car loan. Your house is your collateral when you get a mortgage. Also under those 5 C's, that was where character and some capacity. Capacity wasn't on my list. Oh, but you do want to know what capacity is, because there's another question that asks you about capacity in a true false. So capacity is that you have enough income coming in to pay back the loan or the credit, right? So that's your capacity to pay. As opposed to the credit limit is the most you can charge on a credit card. Let me see. Make sure that some of these that are similar, that we have good definitions for. So your credit report is a reference of how you have used credit in the past. So interest, we know that's the money that we pay, but I want to make sure that we are aware how you might see that. So this is what you pay to use another person's money. I don't know that I'm completely in love with that idea, that definition of interest, because you can also receive interest, but then they're paying you for using your money. So remember that the grace period is that time that's allowed before interest starts on purchases. That's what the grace period is. We talk about debt, we're talking about the total amount you owe others. So it's going to be another time where, like in the matching, there are only 6 questions, but you have, I think, maybe 11 choices. And collateral, this was, we said, something that can be repossessed, like a car, house. Could be some other piece of property, but usually car, house. And credit in general is just that idea that a way you can buy now and pay later in some regard. A couple of those other words I have left on there because they may be on the list. Also on the true and false, okay, on the true and false, don't be surprised if you get a lot of the same letter. I know that always makes me nervous, like, it seems like I should have some more of the other letter. It doesn't seem like these would all be, okay, but there are more of them one than the other, I will tell you. So credit cards allow you to buy now, pay later, because that's what credit means. Debit comes right out of your checking account or savings account, so that is not a way to buy now and pay later. All right, I think that pretty much covers, I don't know, as far as what the test looks like, just as another, let's see, you're going to start out with 11 multiple choice. So you got 11 multiple choice. Then after those 11 multiple choice, you have a whole page of filling things in. You have 4 list questions. Then you have your 20-10 rule. That table like I talked about before. Then you have your appropriate, not, and explain. And there are like 5 rows of that. And then you have 5 true, false. And then there are 6 matching. But again, the 6 matching, there are like 11 choices there. The list questions, when we were back here, let's see. So this question, for example, oh, that does not make that easier to read. Okay, so that's a good list question, right? Because you got lots of choices. You don't have to remember all of them or use all of them. Another, these things where we had lots of choices, where we made a list of things, we brainstormed some things, those things are the kind of things that you would have in your list questions. Hopefully none of those really seem like all completely new. I never heard of that. And again, the things I have on the list are not, it's not limited to those things. Those were just some things kind of off the top of my head. So there are other things that were in the PowerPoints or are in the book. I think for most of these, they ask 3. Each one, you need to give three different things on the list questions. And on the possible answers, some of the, like, one of these has like 12 possible answers. Yeah, they all have like at least 6 things listed, and there could probably be even more. But some of them have like 10 to 12 different possible answers listed. So we just scratched the surface, but you only need 3 for each type. So again, there's a multiple choice where you'll use simple interest, but this is still, these things at the beginning are still like, those were like knowing things that are in they're in multiple choice questions. And then these are the yellow here, those are our list questions. Then we have our 20-10 rule. It's going to be a table pretty similar to what we did here. And then this will be a big table with the you say appropriate or inappropriate, and then give your explanation. And then the things I have under the know these terms, those are basically things that come up either within the true false or in the multiple choice. Or matching, I'm sorry, not multiple choice, but matching. So this, It's kind of the, what does it look like? So tomorrow's class period is just to do your test. If you want to check in with me, you are welcome to. I will still open up Zoom in case I have people who have questions. I do want to show you what that's going to look like. It will be open it will pop up in your Google Classroom stream, or in the assignments, I should say. It will pop up at 3 o'clock today, I think. So if you wanted to do it tonight and have it out of the way, you are welcome to do that. Now, it's probably dangerous of me to do, but you know, what the heck. I did try a different program for that. And so I want to show you guys what it's going to look like when you go to access your test. So you can use your booklet, you can use notes, use a calculator. I would say some of the text boxes are like a little higher than the line when I checked it, but this is what it's going to look like. You're going to click on this link, and instead of being in Google Slides, it's going to take you to this Teacher Made, and you just say begin with Google. It's going to ask you to sign.
You aren't showing us anything.
I'm not showing you. Thank you. So I need to back up so that when I do show you, I show you from the beginning. Yeah, just put screen one. Yeah. All right, so when it pops up and you see Module 2 test, then you click here on Financial Foundation Module 2 test, and it's going to take you to this other site that's called Teacher Made. You say begin with Google, choose your Excel Center email. I have a few different Google accounts there. Now, mine is going to tell me I already did it, so I guess I should have tried signing in with one of my other ones, because I already tried it as a student. So then when it comes in, now if you need to take a break and you've done part of it, then you need to click save for later, and then it'll let you go back in. So, but you should still be able to see, like there, I can type my name, I can type my answer. I can also draw on things if I want. Like if you like to highlight things or whatever, you can. There's nothing that I ask you to do that you need to, but you can. And then it will just scroll through. You're not clicking on different things. You're not trying to make it big. But like I said, I did notice some cases, like if I'm clicking way down here by the line, it's not clicking. So it's just up a little higher than where the line is. But there is a text box by each one of these. I went through as a student to make sure of that. So here, and then again, it's probably always going to be a little higher than if you're clicking right on the line, it's not going to be there. You're going to click up just a little higher. The bonus for this is it will automatically score your multiple choice for me. And I think it actually looks a little better than the other way I did it. Like it's crisper, it's not blurry. And then here's where you're going to type in. You don't have to type in the numbers that got you there, you just need your final answer. If you want to type in the numbers that got you there, you can. So this is 6 points, one for each box. And then here, I can actually check mark. Look at that. I can click the ones I want, and then I can type over here. So you can actually click these boxes to say which one you think it's appropriate or inappropriate. Not fancy. And the true false, you can click to show true false or to change. you want to change it, change your mind, and you just click the other one. And then down here, so I can just type an A, a B, whatever. So if you get to the end, again, if you get to the end or you're like part way, like, oh, I don't have to, I thought I had time to finish this now, I need to finish it later, then I need to either go to the very top or the very bottom and say save for later. So I'm going to say save for later. And then it says you can close the window if you want to continue your work, you may reload. So then now, I think, if I would go back again, click on that same link from before, click on begin with Google, click on the same email, then it takes me back in there. If you say I'm done, then it like submits your test. Notice my little highlight is still there. So the things I had typed, which wasn't much, because I took most of them off, but those true false that I had done, they're still there. So it does save those things. So I need to say save for later so I can demonstrate that again. All right,